Well, g'day and ready for real estate? Yes, even if you're young. In fact, especially if you're young, I'm going to cover 3 strategies that you should be using in real estate to make great returns, better investments, and time after time use it. Now, I love real estate. Why do I love real estate? Well, there's many, many reasons I love real estate, but I'm going to give you the 2 most important reasons I love real estate right here, right now. And then I'm going to go into the 3 strategies that we want to cover off on today. Before I do that, if you haven't subscribed, click subscribe, click the bell. Make sure you're with me every week getting new information on how to build a better business, build a better life, and build more wealth. It's a total amount of BS, but it's coming to you every single week. Keep learning and growing. All right. First thing about real estate, before I get to the 2 reasons I love it, the earlier you start, the better. When is the best time to invest in real estate? 20 years ago. When's the next best time? Today. Today, that's right. Not tomorrow, not next week. Don't just sit back and go, oh, I'm not sure it's a good time to invest in real estate. Yes, it's a good time to invest in real estate. How do you know that? Because they're not making any more land and because people live in houses. Simple. Businesses run out of buildings. We need houses, we need buildings. Are people buying more houses today than they ever were before? Yes. Are they buying bigger houses than they ever were before? Yes. Are people moving time after time? Yes. So we love real estate as an investment. Now, here's the 2 reasons. Number 1 reason I love real estate, which, by the way, if you have not read my book, where is it? This one right here, The Real Estate Coach. If you have not read The Real Estate Coach, click the link, buy the book. Go to Amazon, buy the book, buy it from my website, do all that. Oh, and The Wealth Coach. Read The Wealth Coach as well. 80% of all real estate investments are paid for by someone else. Any piece of real estate you buy as an investor, 80% of it will be paid for by someone else. Let me clarify that for you so you understand what I'm saying. This is why I love real estate. If I go and buy a house, let's imagine the house is $1 million, right? Just for ease of numbers. It's $1 million to buy the house. I got to come up with how much in cash? 20%. Now, I know some markets you can get away with 5%, and some markets you got to put in 40%, okay? Especially those of you in New Zealand right now with your leader. Laws will change. Don't panic about it. So, if I put in 20%, 200 grand, I borrow from the bank 800 grand, pay for the house. Who pays off the 800 grand? Not me. No, not me. People say, oh, but you collect rent and then pay it off. Nope, I don't collect rent. My tenant pays the mortgage for me. Over 20 years, all of my tenants will pay off that mortgage for me, assuming it's a 20-year loan, right? Over 20 years, my tenants will pay that mortgage off for me or for you in that matter. So if you want to retire in 20 years, you buy a house now, in 20 years, it'll be fully paid off. Yay! You want to give a present to your kid at their 21st birthday? Buy them a house when they're 1, have it paid off over 20 years. On their 21st birthday, they own it outright. Think about that for a second. You pay for 20% of the asset. What if I told you you could buy Amazon shares today, and in 20 years, and you only had to pay 20% of the value, but in 20 years it'll be fully paid off for you? You would buy the shares. It's crazy the number of people that don't do this stuff. It blows my mind the number of people teaching real estate that don't even get it. They don't get it. They don't know it. They don't understand it. 80% of the value of the asset is paid for by someone else is the most important reason. People are like, but what if it doesn't go up in value? You don't care. It doesn't matter if it goes up in value. Now, it probably will, you know, and we can talk about all the strategies. If you study my whole stuff, the book, get on the wealth, on 30X Wealth, all right? Study, here's the link, 30X Wealth. Get on 30X Wealth, study that stuff, understand money. Now, the second reason I love real estate, yes, I'm going to get to the 3 strategies in just a minute. Stop panicking, okay? I'll get to them. The second reason I love real estate, okay? Firstly, people pay for it for me. 80% of it's paid for by my tenants. They pay my mortgage for me. They don't pay rent. They pay my mortgage. Remember that. Is that something is always going up. There's a seesaw in real estate. At one end of the seesaw, value. Other end of the seesaw, rental income. One of the 2 is going up at any one point in time. It's not even really a seesaw. It's like a ratchet, isn't it? It keeps going up and up and up. Now, rents are going up, and people are like, wow, rents are rising. And rents get to a certain point, people go, hey, rents are so high, I should go and buy. So there's more demand on the buy end. So they start buying, And then the price gets so high and they go, hey, prices are so high, I should probably just rent. Now, at certain points in the market, both are going up, and it's like, wow, look, both rent and, that to me is one of the most amazing things. And people are like, well, why does value keep going up? Why does rent keep going up? Well, there's no more land. That's one thing. Cost of building keeps going up. If the cost of lumber goes up, does the cost of a house go up? Yes. And if the cost of a brand new house goes up, eventually it drags up the price of an old house. The land goes up in value. It's more demand for the land. The closer it is to the city center, the higher it is on the top of a hill. Learn all of those things. Get on my 30x wealth. All right, let's get to the 3 strategies for those of you young, especially those of you young. But anyone can use this stuff. All right, strategy number 1. Your own home is an investment. I know Robert Kiyosaki says it's not. Robert, you're wrong, wrong, wrong. Your own home is an investment. Here's how you make it an even better investment. Because, by the way, why is Robert wrong? Because if I didn't pay rent to myself, pay for my own home, I have to pay rent to someone else. So my own home is an investment, okay? It's making me money by saving me money. All right, here's what we do. What you do is you look for a home that you will live in that you will fix up, okay? A good solid home on a good street or in a decent neighborhood, but it's ugly. Bad carpet, awful gardens. You see it on the TV shows all the time, right? Dead simple stuff. Paint, change out the kitchen. They make a ton of money by doing this stuff. Hey, presto, you go in. Now, I don't want you spending a ton of money doing this. I want you to spend a year or 2 doing this. That's right. You're going to do it over a year or 2. And you're going to do this over 20 years of your life, especially if you're young. So for 20 years, you're going to change homes every 2 years. Now, why every 2 years? It's good for taxes. Just trust me on that. Go learn it. Go study it. Understand it. But if I live in that for 2 years and gradually fix it up, I redo all the gardens, I rebuild out the back, I put in a nice area, I do inside, I knock down a couple of walls, I open up a couple of things, I redo the kitchen, right? I change out the appliances, the light fixtures, the light switches, I paint the place, change out the carpets, do that sort of stuff. And every 2 years, I get to a new home. Now, you can't sell it every 2 years because it's your own home, the tax deductible, all that stuff. Or you can just roll it over. 2 years, go and revalue, refinance that property and take the money out and use it to buy the next house that should be a bit bigger. And then after 2 more years, you go and do it again. And after 20 years, you've done 10 of these. So you'll either own 10 rental properties after 20 years, right? Because you've taken the capital increase and rolled it into your next home. So you'll have 10 homes, 1 to live in, 9 are rental properties. And because you're 10 years in, right? That first one's had 8 years of the tenant paying it off, 2 years of you paying it off in the beginning, but you rolled it into a new finance. So it's 8 years of the tenant. So you got another 12 years. It's fully paid off. Think about doing that just for a second. And all you got to do is invest your nights and weekends. You can have a TV on in the background, football game on in the background, but you're painting the joint. You're having dinner and a beer, but you're painting the joint. Fix it up over a period of time. If you do that every 2 years, you're guaranteed to retire rich. Guaranteed. Can't do anything other than do that. Unless, of course, you sell the first one, go use the money, go buy a boat and buy another shitty house and done. You got to roll the capital across, all right? Keep that in mind. Strategy number 2. All right, strategy number 2 is the big bedroom house. What do I mean by that? So especially if you're young, this one works out real, real well. If I go and buy, say, a house that is in a university town or between a university and a hospital, where there's lots of people who want to rent rooms. They don't want to just rent the whole place. They want to rent rooms. Say I go and buy a house that has 4 bedrooms, but it has room for me to create 3 more bedrooms. It has plumbing for me to create another 2 bedrooms and increase the number of bedrooms in it and rent it out. Now, if you're young, what you'll do, and I remember a couple of young guys, brothers, that did this back when I was teaching this in Queensland, Australia. 2 young guys between a hospital and a university rented out the rooms. They lived in one room together because they were brothers. They're used to living together, okay? In the first one, they lived together. They rented out. They bought it. It was 4 bedrooms. They created another 2 bedrooms, all right? Increased the plumbing, did the whole thing, did it properly, did the paperwork, boom. Well, they rented out all the other rooms. That was enough for them to pay the mortgage fully. They didn't have to have any mortgage money coming out of their own money. They used their own money to fix the entire property up, revalue the property. When they got it 2 years later, they went and bought another one. One of the brothers moved into the other one. He lived in one of the rooms, rented out all of the other rooms, and hey, press, they built serious wealth coming off that. Then eventually they moved out and built it into their own homes, all that sort of thing. See, if you have a lot of rooms, you'll generally make more money than just renting it one at a time. Okay, if you rent it out the whole property, you'll make X. If you rent it out room by room, you'll make X plus a certain percentage. Okay, so doing that time and times. Yes, you still want to be able to renovate the property. Renovation is a very big, important part of this whole strategy of real estate. Always has been, always will be. Why? Because what is renovation? Renovation is adding value to the asset you purchase. So when I teach business, I teach how you buy a business and you build it up and then you sell it. You're adding value to the asset. In real estate, what are we doing with renovation? We're adding value to the asset. Okay, the added value is far greater than the cost of adding the value to that property. So you rent the rooms out, and basically your roommates pay the mortgage for you. Okay, your roommates will pay the mortgage for you, and you will then be able to do the increase in value by renovating that property. They will, in some cases, they'll even help you with the renovation because they enjoy helping out. They do that sort of thing. But you create a much nicer property. It's worth a bunch more. Hey, presto, you move on. So that's the first two strategies. Strategy number 3. By the way, all strategies take into account the 80-20 thing and the increase in value and increase in rent thing. You want more details? Study the book, study 30x Wealth. Number 3 strategy, the traditional style, right? The traditional style of investing. Now, what we're doing is the traditional style of investment, okay? And you see this all the time on TV. Now, I think they make a big mistake on TV. They buy it and flip it, right? They buy, renovate, and flip. I don't want to flip. Why? Let's learn a lesson. The lesson is called leverage. In fact, leverage is my board game. It's the board game I built to teach business. But leverage, by definition, is do the work once, get paid forever. Write that down. Do the work once, get paid forever. So what we want to do with leverage is we actually want to not just do the property, renovate it and flip it, because that's do the work once, get paid once. We want to do the work once and get paid forever. So if I buy a property, okay, I then renovate the property. Why am I renovating? To add value. I go to the bank, borrow 20%, renovate the property. I don't have to live in the property, okay? I don't have to live in that house. But I renovate the house. I increase the value of the house. Now, there are many strategies to do this. And again, I teach all of that in my other stuff. There's many strategies to increase the value of the house way above the cost of the renovation, way above the cost of what you add into it, all right? So I increase the value of that property. I can go back to the bank and say, hey, the value is up. I want to refinance this property. I draw down the amount of cash I put in the beginning. I can draw it back out in many cases when I've done a good job of it. In some cases, if you mess it up, you won't be able to get it back because you didn't do a good job of it. You didn't learn before you went out to do this thing. I go out. I renovate the property. I go back to the bank. I refinance it. I get back my deposit money. Maybe some more, but at least my deposit money. That house is now 100% financed. Why? Because I increased its value. But at 100% finance, it's still only 80% of the value of the house. Now, if that's tricky for you, keep studying, keep learning, all right? I get that deposit back, and I go do another one. I do it again. I get the deposit back, I go do another one. I get the deposit back, I go do another one. Okay, now, this becomes almost a full-time business. It becomes a big thing. And that's why you'll see some people, they'll do one and flip it to make enough money to go and buy the next one. Do that one, own it forever. Do the flip, make enough money to do an own forever. And that often works really well as well. But ultimately, what we're looking at here, and whether we're young, middle-aged, old, wherever you're at in real estate, there are some great strategies for you to make a ton of money. Mostly because people are willing to live and pay your mortgage for you. Let's go to strategy 3.5. All right, strategy 3.5 has come about in the last probably 2 years, maybe 3 years. In the last 2 years, we've gone to see people making a lot of money off of assets they don't even own. Okay, so for instance, Uber makes a ton of money off cars it doesn't even own. Airbnb makes a ton of money off of real estate it doesn't even own. Well, maybe, just maybe, there's a way for you to use that to your advantage. So when I go out to look at a normal house that works well for Airbnb, so you do your Airbnb research. Where is a market that is at capacity, where they're selling out, where they're doing real well? Okay, take a look in your area. Where is an Airbnb area that's doing real well, that's almost always sold out, they're making really good money per night? You start to do your research on Airbnb, right? So let's say I find an area where the average of 20 nights a month or more of Airbnb rental. 20 nights or more of Airbnb rental. Okay? And just using Airbnb the way it is, managing it, cleaning, all that sort of stuff. And I look at the amount of money that's coming in for 20 nights. Average it over the year, the high seasons, the low seasons. I take a look at it. I say, So 20 nights a month on this Airbnb, this is strategy 3.5, by the way, I'm making X amount per month. Now it's going to cost me Y in cleaning, Z in Airbnb's fees. Great. Here's how much I make. Now you can go and buy a house that does that. Or if you don't have the money to buy a house, you're just getting started in real estate, you can go and rent a house that you then go and Airbnb. You rent it, you Airbnb it. If you're renting it for, say, a couple of grand a month, and your profit on and your revenue on Airbnb after cost is, say, $4 grand a month, $2 grand out, $4 grand in, you're making $2 grand a month managing an Airbnb you don't even own. Yes, you're going to have to do a bit of research. You're going to have to do your numbers, because you don't want to have a 12-month lease on something that you then can't afford because you're not getting Airbnb rentals. But if you do your research and you start to actually understand this thing, you'll see that strategy 3.5 is a great way to make cash flow, getting yourself ready to get into the other 3 strategies where you make capital and cash flow. Remember, an investment is something that has 2 things. It has capital growth and it has cash flow. If it does not have capital gain and cash flow, and this is where I got into a debate with someone the other day. And I've been teaching investing for 20 plus years. And this guy comes on, he's like, well, Brad, I'm an investor in cryptocurrencies. I said, really? What are you an investor in? He said, I'm an investor in Bitcoin. I said, Bitcoin is a currency, yes? He said, yeah, it's a currency. He said, well, it's a technology first and a currency second. I said, no, it's not. Blockchain is a technology. Bitcoin's not a technology. Bitcoin is a currency. So you are a currency trader. Currency trading's been around forever. You want to learn currency trading? Absolutely. I think Bitcoin's amazing as a currency trader. As an investor, it's not an investment. Okay, now, yes, you can now add rental strategies on your Bitcoin. You can add a whole bunch of different things to do that. Still, my opinion, it's still a currency trade. NFTs. Brad, I'm investing in NFTs. Okay, you're a great investor in NFTs. Fantastic. Good luck to you. Well done. You're investing in NFTs. What's your cash flow off your NFT? Now, some NFTs are giving you utility and able to give you a cash flow from them. Fantastic. Now they're starting to look like investments, okay? Once it's capital gain and it's got cash flow, then it's a definite investment. Now, am I advocating don't do NFTs? Absolutely not. I think NFTs are a phenomenal set of investment criteria as long as you know what you're doing. Am I saying don't do Bitcoin? Absolutely not. I think Bitcoin's a phenomenal way to make money if you know what you're doing. It's a great currency trade. Foreign exchange trading has been around for 100 years and it'll continue to be around forever. And demand and supply is a big part of that. So, same demand and supply for real estate. Got to learn it though. Learn before you earn. Don't go out there and start investing your life savings in something you don't understand. Learn, study, get on my 30X wealth. Get on, if you're in business, 30X business, 30X life for success principles. Study it, come to my university, whatever you need to do. Read all them dang books. Take care. Bye for now. Oh, and if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. Click the bell. Make sure you get the indications and share this thing with everybody. Bye for now.